Feels like we've been talking about these fires in Australia now for months, but we wanted to get an idea of what it's been like on the ground from someone who's actually experienced it. And so we're now joined by one of those people, award-winning film director and freelance journalist, Eric Byler. Welcome back to the Damage Report.
Thank you, John.
Great to have you here. And so you now live in Australia, correct?
Yeah, I've been here about a year.
Okay, and so you did a write-up about the experience of dealing with these fires for The Intercept. It's a great read, people should definitely check it out. Give us a little bit of an idea of what it was like as this situation began to develop several months ago.
Oh, well, several months ago, I was living my idyllic Australian life. We have two little kids, and I was very much focused on just having the best family life and meeting the Australian relatives. And the environment here is great. Just the culture. There's so many beautiful places to go and see. And so, I wasn't terribly focused on politics, even though it was my job when I worked for you guys. Mm-hmm. And it was just, we had a great life. It all started to change when the smoke started to waft in from the bushfires.
How long ago was that?
I would say maybe 6 weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay.
And so it affected us in terms of like, well, it's very hot, but we can't open the windows because then the smoke will come in. So which is more important? Do you want to have smoke in the house and be cooler, or do you want to be really hot and have good air to breathe? And in terms of our daily life, that was about all it was affecting us. Of course, we knew that the smell of smoke meant death and destruction and sorrow and tragedy for other people and for animals. But sort of like other things that happen around the world, if you're a young parent and you have young kids, you feel like your first responsibility is to them, and you just kind of focus on making everything right in your home. And that's what I thought my job was at the time.
And so look, we've shown footage of the fires. We know about the number of animals that have been killed. I believe around 25 humans as well. But as you mentioned, the smoke for a lot of people who are not immediately being affected by the fires, that is a serious health risk as well. Tell me a little bit, how bad is the air quality there, and for how long have you had to deal with it?
Well, okay, so Canberra is the capital of Australia, and it has its own territory that is nestled within New South Wales. And if you've been following the fires, New South Wales is where most of the fires have been burning. It actually all really got much worse in the last week or so, 10 days or so. Well, starting December 30th was, that's, if you read my article, that's the day we were driving down to the coast and we saw this giant forest fire just explode on the other side of the mountain. So it just looked like this column of smoke as we're driving down. And then we were still in our state of denial, just wanting everything to be normal. So we saw this huge fire and we still went to the beach. I mean, that's the amazing thing. But in terms of air quality, from that day until today, we've had some of the worst air quality ever recorded in this city, worst in the world. I think 2 or 3 days we were worse than those cities like Delhi and India that typically have the worst air quality, and it's because we're right in the wind path coming from the ocean from all of these fires. We sometimes during the day will get more easterly going wind that will bring in the warm air from the desert, and then in the evening the ocean winds will come in and just bury us with smoke. So it's just Sunday. We were, put it this way, Saturday we thought, okay, we're back, we're safe, it's a normal life. Sunday, buried in smoke, and I'm driving around the city, and I think you just showed some of the footage, looking for a place where now we're back to the beach, but I was looking for a place where my children could breathe. We went to the old Parliament House, which is now a museum, but they had closed the doors, the air was too bad. We ended up going to a mall. But even though it's an indoor mall, the place was filled with smoke. We stayed in a hotel that night, a Crown Plaza hotel, very similar to the ones you have here with the huge atrium lobbies, filled with smoke. You guys probably monitored this in LA a little bit. 200 is considered hazardous in terms of the air quality metrics. We had 4,400 at times, and so yeah. You were interesting. One is just, and some of the footage that I sent you guys, oh, that's an old picture. Some of the footage I sent you guys is of the fans. So when we were at the hotel, we left fans running with wet cloths over them to try to soak up some of that smoke. And when I came back, the fans are just covered with soot. So, I mean, I don't know how many people in my community in this Capital Territory are aware of the air that they're breathing right now. We just purchased a $350 air filter. I don't know how many people can afford that. But as soon as we turned on ours, it told us the air inside of our house was bad. What was the word? Poor. They said our air was poor. We've been running it all night. We just got it yesterday, and now we have the blue light instead of the red light. But yeah, it's, I'm going to try to, we've contacted our children's daycare center and said, hey, we'll put in money. We want to buy these things. I don't think people realize that smoke that's outside is actually getting inside too.
I mean, it's a big topic. We can only just briefly touch on it, but I'm curious that I know that people are still, they're not out of this yet, and God knows how long it'll last. But have you noticed that amongst your neighbors, your friends in the area, is there more talk about putting pressure on the government to take these sorts of issues more serious? I know that the Prime Minister has been criticized for a number of the things that he's said and done, both before the fires and even now during them. Is that something that's being talked about commonly?
I mean, I think more people are just focused on dealing with the emergencies, dealing with the trauma and with the losses. If they express something political, it's more outrage, just anger, and they focus it on this one particular man. But if you were asked to ask the conservatives, they would say, we have been doing stuff, we have been trying. The question is, has it been enough? And are they happy with the results that they're getting? I think when they, when they're honest with themselves, when they stop pretending that it's normal, which I now understand is something that you just want to do in a crisis, I think that the answer might be no. But I'm not an Australian citizen, and this is the thing, is that if we're going to do something about this in this country or in the United States or anywhere, people like me who were, you call them soccer moms in the US, right? Those people who, it's a demographic who is more focused on their family than politics, and until something happens to really shake them out of that, well, I just want everything to be normal so I can do what I want to do, they're not that engaged. So I hadn't paid any attention to Australian politics. There was an election, but I couldn't vote. So I didn't really, look into it. I mean, now I will. I think I'll be more informed on the climate issue as well. And I guess that's the lesson for all of us here. Australia and the United States are cousins, and there's a lot of commonality. I kind of feel like I'm in the South, when I'm in Australia, and I do like being in the South. And so I think that seeing people who are so much like us go through this kind of catastrophic fire season, I think in the United States, probably in Australia too, but I'm no expert on Australia, but I think it's going to make a difference in the United States, because I think governments and people have to stop pretending that a crisis is normal in order to confront it.
Well, Eric, we appreciate you joining us on the show today. Everyone, definitely go to The Intercept and take a look at Eric's piece about the experience he's had. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.